Now with a look at what stories are making the headlines this Friday, it's the ITV News.
A Thanksgiving service in honour of the Queen, in Her Majesty's absence. The royal family, including Harry and Meghan, celebrated her reign at St Paul's while the Queen rested and watched at home in Windsor.
Your Majesty, we are sorry that you're not here with us this morning, but we are so glad that you are still in the saddle, and we are glad that there is still more to come.
And this afternoon, the Palace has announced that the Queen will also not be attending the Epsom Derby tomorrow. Also on the programme tonight.
He's done so many good things for Britain and the Commonwealth.
70 years is something to be proud of.
Cheers!
The bunting's up for Jubilee parties up and down the country, and
for generations, we will not know such majesty.
the Poet Laureate pens a new work in honour of the Queen's 70 years on the throne.
From Buckingham Palace, this is ITV News with Geraint Vincent.
Good evening from Buckingham Palace on the second day of celebrations for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. We haven't seen the Queen today after what she said was a tiring day yesterday. She stayed at Windsor while her extended family attended a service of Thanksgiving at St Paul's Cathedral. Prince Charles represented his mother, and Harry and Meghan made their first appearance at a royal event together since leaving for America. It's been announced this afternoon that the Queen will not be attending one of her favourite events, the Epsom Derby, tomorrow. Our royal editor, Chris Shipp, reports.
The Queen may not have been at St Paul's for her own Thanksgiving today, but there were so many members of her family who wanted to come. A number of them, Zara and Mike Tyndall included, had to be bussed in. But it was the arrival of the Sussexes which was getting particular attention. Harry and Meghan making their first public appearance together since leaving the royal family 2 years ago. A cheer went up, but there were also some isolated boos. But this was all about the Queen, who once again was being represented by her son Prince Charles, who is increasingly getting the last-minute request to stand in. Brothers William and Harry were in the same building, but the seating arrangements kept them apart. The Archbishop of York, himself standing in for the Archbishop of Canterbury, who has COVID, spoke about the absent Queen, but that she would be watching.
We all know that the Queen likes horse racing. And Your Majesty, I'm rather assuming perhaps you're watching this on the television. Let me observe that your long reign reflects the distance of Aintree rather than the sprint of Epsom. We are sorry that you're not here with us this morning, but we are so glad that you are still in the saddle, and we are glad that there is still more to come.
A new anthem was written for this service. Its composer had hoped the Queen would hear it in person.
I was not necessarily expecting the Queen to be there. I feel very strongly she should look after herself.
So what of the words she wrote for the anthem?
My words, chosen from the Bible, underline the importance of wisdom, of gaining understanding, and I think these are qualities that many people would ascribe to the Queen.
And it was a service to reflect how the country has changed over the Queen's 70-year reign.
I think it's to show how diverse the UK is in general, and how young people are, so important, and we are, the next voice, the future voice.
For a Queen with such a deep faith, missing out on St Paul's was a disappointing, if necessary, decision. But she was watching. She was looking not just at the service, but at the future of the monarchy.
And the transition from the Queen to her son in her platinum year, that is now very much underway. Chris Shipp, ITV News, St Paul's Cathedral.
Well, away from the formal celebrations here in London, millions have made the most of an extra holiday to celebrate with family, friends and neighbours along roads, in parks and in gardens up and down the country. The bunting was up and glasses were raised to the Queen. Amy Lewis reports.
You can see the Queen on the balcony and the Union Jack. I can see a lot of people.
In this miniature land, they are having a big Jubilee party, and they have thought of every detail. At the world's oldest model village, they are celebrating the world's oldest monarch. What do you think of the Queen?
She's like very old and she still dresses nicely and she's like a really good queen. And it's really good that she's stayed the Queen for that long and she's done so many good things for Britain and the Commonwealth.
They have recreated some of her happiest moments at a place where she made her own memories. As a child, the then Princess Elizabeth visited Beaconscott in Buckinghamshire 3 times. On the eve of her 8th birthday, she went with her grandmother, Queen Mary, and as you'd expect, the young royal was allowed to bend the rules. It looks like she's having so much fun.
Yeah, she is, and you could see it in the photographs. Her and her sister was here, Princess Margaret, and they went all over the place. And they went to places where the public aren't allowed to go. You know, we allowed them to pick up a plane or the boats. You know, how can you tell a monarch, put that down, get off the grass?
From tiny tea parties to the real thing.
Oh wait, can I have this blackberry then?
Communities have been celebrating all over the country. In Mansfield in Nottinghamshire, they have been flying the flag. At Didcot in Oxfordshire, they went one step further.
I think she's inspirational and she's an actual icon.
70 years is something to be proud of. The Jubilee bank holiday is all about making memories and capturing them. Amy Lewis, ITV News.
And Chris is, of course, with us now. Chris, another cancellation by Her Majesty today.
Yes, so look, I don't think we really did expect the Queen to make all the events on all 4 days of the celebration, and if anything, I didn't really expect her to make the Epsom Derby tomorrow, so no real surprise that Buckingham Palace announced to us this afternoon that she wouldn't be going. Look, the fact she cancelled St Paul's Cathedral today means, of course, Epsom Derby's cancellation was very likely. We are told, however, she's going to watch it on ITV Racing, so I'm sure our colleagues over there are making sure they're putting on a good show, and she will be represented there tomorrow by her daughter, Princess Anne.
And the Queen's, talking of the rest of the royal family, the Queen's deployed some of them around the UK to mark the Jubilee weekend.
Yeah, actually, Princess Anne is having a busy day. I saw her earlier at St Paul's Cathedral. She's currently up in Scotland. She's been at Edinburgh Zoo this afternoon. The idea is that the members of the royal family are in all 4 corners of the United Kingdom. William and Kate, for example, will be in Wales tomorrow. The Wessexes will be in Northern Ireland. But of course, it doesn't take away from the fact that really the centrepiece of these celebrations will sort of come back here to Buckingham Palace tomorrow night.
All right, Chris, for now, many thanks. In other news, and in the United States, President Biden has said too many places in America have become killing fields as he called for a ban on the sale of assault weapons. In an emotional address to the nation after yet more mass shootings, he said any changes to gun laws weren't about taking away rights, but protecting children. But can there be any hope change will happen? Our correspondent Robert Moore reports.
For 2 weeks now, the president has been America's mourner-in-chief, touring the scene of atrocities and looking into the eyes of America's lost children. Last night, walking past candles that each represent a state that has suffered a mass shooting, President Biden implored and begged Congress to act, saying the bereaved agreed on one point.
They had one message for all of us. Do something. Just do something. For God's sake, do something.
What the hell are you waiting for?
You are not going to bully your way into stripping Americans of fundamental rights.
Facing a Congress that is so deeply divided, he urged the country not to wait for the next massacre.
For God's sake, how much more carnage are we willing to accept? How many more innocent American lives must be taken before we say enough, enough? Enough. It's time for each of us to do our part. It's time to act for the children we've lost, for the children we can save, for the nation we love. Let's hear the call and the cry. Let's meet the moment. Let us finally do something.
The White House wants a ban on the AR-15 style semi-automatics that are the weapons of choice for America's deranged mass shooters. Or at a minimum to ensure a purchaser must be 21 years old and not 18. It may be common sense, but even in the immediate aftermath of these recent mass shootings, many Republicans will vehemently oppose any such reform.
There is some talk here on Capitol Hill of minor adjustments to gun laws, but anything more radical, more significant, that would reduce this epidemic of gun violence, well, that still seems entirely out of reach. Robert Moore, ITV News, Washington.
In the last hour, UEFA has apologised to Liverpool and Madrid fans after the chaos at the Champions League final in Paris. In a statement, it said sorry to fans who had to experience or witness frightening and distressing events. An independent review is underway. At least 4 people have died and many more have been injured after a train derailed in southern Germany. The train was travelling through the Alps when 3 of its double-decker carriages overturned and was taken off the court in agony with an ankle injury. Nadal will now play in his 30th Grand Slam singles final. Well, returning to the Jubilee celebrations and a brand new poem written in honour of the Queen by the Poet Laureate Simon Armitage. Queenhood speaks of both the constancy and change of monarchy. At his writing studio in the Yorkshire countryside, the poet spoke to ITV News about the inspiration behind the words.
Queenhood. An old-fashioned word coined in a bygone world. It is a taking hold and a letting go. Girlhood left behind like a favourite toy, irreversible step over invisible brink. A new frock will be made, which is a country hemmed with the white lace of its shores. I began to look back across, the 7 decades of her reign. She's, in some senses, redefined what majesty is. Has been the great accomplishment of her reign, and also doing that as a mother and as a woman, in a time when we were living in a man's world. I went back to film footage of the coronation and just got absolutely transfixed, mesmerised by the whole show, the serenity of the Queen that day. I hope I've captured something of her in the poem that she would recognise. The dream life and the documentary, a truthful fantasy. For generations, we will not know such majesty.
Well, a final word now with our royal editor, Chris. We're halfway through the Jubilee celebrations now. We're going to see the Queen again this weekend, do you think?
Do you know, it's a good question, Geraint. Obviously no St Paul's Cathedral today, no Epsom Derby tomorrow. Something else is happening tomorrow, incidentally. It is Lilibet's first birthday. Harry and Meghan's youngest child, named after the Queen. Perhaps they're having a big party at Windsor. Who knows? That leaves the question of will she all come to this party. You can see behind us now, the stage is set for all that big party. I can tell you something, Geraint. I have felt the vibrations from the rehearsals, and they literally make the floor jump up and down. Can we expect a 96-year-old to go to that, at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night? I don't think so. Therefore, I think there will be a lot of focus on trying to get the Queen available for perhaps another balcony appearance on Sunday. Day 4, the conclusion of the celebrations. There'll be a massive pageant, a 2-mile-long pageant going around the roads here. Perhaps they're trying to save the Queen for that. Let's hope.
We'll see. Many thanks, Chris. Well, that's it. I'll be back with the late news. That's at 10. Until then, have a very good evening. Bye-bye.